we've been going back and forth for the last few weeks about Russia on the border of Ukraine, and in the last week they've gone in, and they've literally invaded. It's like full on war. As a guy who's not totally versed in war, military tactics, etc., not even like NATO agreements and all that stuff, you're like, dude, why don't we just go there and cause them not to go in there? And then you realize that it's way bigger than all this stuff. These guys own nuclear weapons, not just a couple nukes, but a full arsenal. As do we, as the United States, that could end humanity. Now, 2 weeks ago, I wasn't even thinking about that. Nukes haven't ran through my mind in so long that I always think like we got them, we could drop them. Stupid that we made them. Who's the idiot that invented such a device? And it just kind of keeps everybody in check. But we're literally, figuratively, and physically at the point right now where one false move and humanity's done over something. So I get why we're not totally backing up the Ukrainians and their thing. So I was thinking, like, this is kind of before that because things have definitely changed a little bit. Not before that. I mean, this is in the last 7 days or so. But I was thinking, like, dude, if you're in the Ukraine and you're of fighting age, right? They said, the day before it all happened, men 15 to 60 will need to fight. And as Americans, we're down, right? We'll go out there and we'll handle it. And as the Ukrainians, you're like, dude, you can't fight tanks. Like you're going to lose. Like you pretty much are. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out. You're going to lose, but they still go out and fight. And as of right now, they're totally like holding them off. I mean, they're not winning by any means, but they're causing more problems than Mr. Putin thought. And that's good to see the resilience, the power to fight back and save something you love. Saw this dude. He was talking like he was going to go buy guns with his family. And they were interviewing him. They're all, do they know? Oh, I haven't told them, but they know exactly what I'm doing. He's like, I might die, but I'm going to die with my blood for this country, for my family. And it's super admirable. I mean, it's abstract. It's crazy, but I mean, that's why we're Americans, right? That's why we're here. I know I can trace my roots to the Revolutionary War. And I never fought in war, and my father didn't fight in a war. But neither did my mother. But we can trace it back on my mom's side to the Revolutionary War, and you're like, oh, dude, these fools died and fought just for our freedom. And then, I was listening to like NPR or something, and they were talking about what do Americans do best? We imagine, create, design, and build. And I think that is a great way to really think about what we're able to do, how we do it, why we did it, and what we're capable of. And we need to give people more time to do as such. Come up with big ideas that help the world. Probably an idea to get rid of these freaking bombs that are got everybody on edge, and not just one person have them or everybody have them, but nobody needs to have them. Because you begin to think about like mental health and wellness and like what is going on and the people in charge, like what are their mental states. I mean, I immediately think of like Columbine shooters, school shooters where they're willing to take everybody out on their way out. And let's just hope that a world leader doesn't have the same deal. And I mean, doomsday scenario, right? Let's just say, boom, they're like, oh, we're not going to put up with this. And nukes start to fly in these major cities in the U.S., in these major cities of Europe. And, vegetation can't grow because there's dust clouds and post-apocalyptic everything. I mean, dude, this is like 2 weeks ago we're just fighting coronavirus, and now, one false move and the world's exploded. And I mean, it's always like that, but it just takes some crazy thing, such as where we're at right now, to push it over the edge and just stay safe. And it really goes right back into Be good with yourself. Be good with your God. Be good with your soul, your spirituality, your friends, your family, so that if it does end, you knew you were good up to that point because I mean, everything's so short, and it probably won't. You know, I don't think. I mean, I'm being optimistic here, but anything could. You know, head on a collision in a car crash, or fucking burn down house, whatever the fuck, and everybody takes everything for granted. So tell your friends that you love them. Tell your family you love them, and live every day like, if you were gone, it wouldn't have mattered. You didn't miss out on much. And fight for your country. Ah. Read a couple books. Well, I've been reading a couple books, but I finished one book. When Things Fall Apart: Hard Advice for Difficult Times by Pima Chodron. And this is from Shambhala Press. Life is a good teacher and a good friend. Things are always in transition. If we could only realize it, nothing ever sums itself up in the way that we like to dream about. The off-center, in-between state is an ideal situation, a situation in which we don't get caught and we can open our hearts and minds beyond limit. This is basically, it kind of goes over meditations, the power of meditating, the very moments in the perfect teacher, and just really good stuff. Relax as it is. It's never too late. These are just titles of the chapters. Servants of Peace. It actually implemented this pretty cool format for meditation, which is exactly opposite. Like breathe in with the good and breathe out with the bad. But I think it's called Tunglen. I'm looking here right now. I don't see it, but I believe that's what it's called, Tunglen. And basically what you do is you breathe in like all the worries of a focused point. And so like I was doing it with Ukraine, right? You breathe in all their hurt and their angst, and you push out joy, happiness, relaxation. And it was kind of cool. I mean, obviously it didn't work, but it felt good. Just another way, a different way to think about stuff and push it above and beyond the edge. And that's cool. And so, yeah, I would highly recommend it. It's, basically based on meditations and pushing yourself. And it's just a good time really reading it. So I would check it out. I also peeped out some movies. I went to the theater and I was like, oh, what am I going to see? So I saw on the Nile, which recently, I said I had watched the new, and I've never seen the old Murder on the Orient Express. But Death on the Nile is basically the same deal. And it's good, it's that whole thing. Murder on the Orient Express is a train. This is on a boat on the Nile River in Africa. And, murder happens, who done it, and we got to whip it around. And those kind of things are always fun. What I didn't know was the star, the main detective, is also the director, which I looked into afterwards, and I was like, oh, dude, that's awesome. Like, you don't see that too often, and he did a really good job. Also, I peeped out Malibu High. This is an oldie but goodie. Kind of crazy, dude. It's like this chick who's in high school in Malibu, and she's not doing too well. I guess her dad had killed himself, and she begins to have sex with her teachers for better grades, and then gets a job as a hooker and accidentally kills some dude who tries to chain her up, and then gets hired as a hitman. like just one thing after another. But it's fun. I definitely peep it out. It's old school. I got this one on Vinegar Syndrome. Every teacher in school wanted to flunk her, but nobody dared. So it's a lot of good fun. It's kind of got a sleazy, pimp, I guess that's what I would call him. And then I peeped out this oldie but goodie, Out of Africa, starring Robert Redford and Meryl Streep, a Sidney Pollack film. This is like 3 hours. I guess it won 7 Academy Awards, including Best Picture in 1985. And it's a true story. This author, I don't think she was an author at the moment, but this lady marries this dude who I assume was gay just because she was rich, and they are going to Africa to basically start a dairy. And when she arrives with her money, they turn it into like a coffee farm. But it's a beautiful film. It's a love story. It's everything you like about cinema. It's an epic tale of love, loss, and self-discovery amid the stunning vistas of the African continent and an unparalleled filmmaking achievement. So it takes place in like 1910, 1912, and if you could think about like being, you know, from Britain in Africa at that time, or even at this time. I mean, if you were there, you'd be so awkward, right? But it's fantastic. I would definitely check it out. This was the 25th anniversary edition on Blu-ray, and it looked gorgeous. So I would peep it out. It's goody, goody, goody. And I also saw from Guillermo del Toro, which I've wanted to see for a long time, is The Shape of Water, Academy Award winner for Best Picture again. This is, I believe, from 2017. It's a fairy tale for troubled times, and it's really, really, really freaking awesome. It's about this mute girl who's like a janitor at aerospace place, and they capture like this merman, and she basically falls in love with them. They're running tests on him and hit him with a cattle prod, and then sneaks him out before they can kill him, and she falls in love with him, which is pretty cool. And then she's got to take him back to the ocean before they come and get him. But it says right here, Guillermo del Toro's magical masterpiece is a romantic fever dream of a movie. I would highly agree with that. A poetic love letter to misunderstood creatures. Highly agree with that. From master storyteller Guillermo del Toro comes The Shape of Water, an otherworldly fairy tale set against the backdrop of Cold War era America circa 1962. In the hidden high-security government laboratory where she works, lonely Elisa, Sally Hawkins, who's beautiful in this movie, is trapped in a life of isolation. Elisa's life is changed forever when she and her co-worker, Zelda, Octavia Spencer, discover a secret classified experiment. Rounding out the cast are Michael Shannon, Richard Jenkins, Michael Stahlberg, and Doug Jones, and it's just good times. I mean, you could see it, and you know exactly why it won those awards. And last night, I finally got to see the Jackie Robinson story, 42. And this is with Chadwick Boseman, rest in peace, and Harrison Ford. And it's just a fabulous tale. It's uplifting and inspiring, as it says on the back here. And it's a piece of American history. It's really cool to see, the magic that created where we're at now and the opportunities that were open. It's also heart-wrenching when you see some of these scenes and the freaking ignorance and baloney that this dude had to put up with. What I didn't totally understand, or maybe I'm wrong, or maybe they're wrong, but in the beginning, they kind of insinuate that they need to get an African American to play ball. It's going to be super difficult. And it almost seems like he kind of just picked a random dude, and beating Jackie Robinson, picked him without really seeing him, or at least they don't show that. I was under the impression that he was scouted, and he was just so good that it was undeniable. And as he played, he was that. But I don't know if they made a mistake in that or if that was really how it went down. But it's a fantastic story. And Chadwick Boseman is a freaking beast, dude. He's so good at what he does. It's crazy. You begin to think he's Jackie Robinson. Oh, I also I saw with Kristen Bell, Veronica Mars, which is like a detective story. She thought she was out. It's good. It was entertaining. Nothing special. PG-13. It stars Veronica Mars, who's Kristen Bell, and she's like an up and coming. All her friends end up dead, and she's investigating, and it's cool. I mean, it's not bad. It's just I don't even know what. It's weird because of all the pop culture references and stuff, but besides that, it's fine and dandy. Peep it out if you like. That being said, peace, love, happiness. Try your hardest. Do your best. Stay amazing. Read more books. Stay humble. Stay gracious. Podcast. Jebuth.